Hi there. These questions that some may have asked before are for you to reflect on with an open mind. So let's begin. Do you think that parents should have a bigger say in their children's education than the government? Should grandchildren be penalized for the bad deeds of their grandparents? Do you support voter ID? And do you think that voter identification helps to prevent voter fraud? Next, with taxpayers funding the health care system, should health care be considered a service and not a human right? Do you support the idea of removing God from your country's national anthem to make it gender neutral? Is vulgarity on television becoming more acceptable to society? And are we seeing the erosion of respect and cultural values? Why do some people push to defund the police, yet when someone attacks or robs them, they call on the police for help? Why is it that when someone shouts insults and picks a fight with another person and gets beaten up, that many people show support for the underdog? Are poor people who depend on government assistance often seen as votes for a particular political party? Next, can you predict what may eventually happen when a government disarms all its citizens? Why is it that some people tell their fellow citizens that they are sitting on stolen land, but yet the people who say this would not pack their belongings and get off the land they claim to be stolen? Are you in favor of digital IDs, a central bank digital currency, and a social credit score system that is based on your behavior? Are the majority of us today better off than our grandparents? Next, why do some people tell others that someone is holding them back from getting up in life, but yet no one is holding back the people who say this from moving up or getting rich? Is the average household income for Asian Americans the highest among all races in the U.S.? Do you think that the effects of globalization have led to the decline of national identity, where your country's traditional values and identity become less important in a multicultural society? Does talks about a new world order means that we are not going back to normal or the way life was before the pandemic? And that we also have to prepare for a more angrier world and harder times ahead? Furthermore, will the Caribbean, Latin, and South America be within an emerging new world order, with the United States playing a key role in it? Should there be a Veterans Month to honor all veterans instead of only one day? Do you think that your personal freedom is more important than equality of outcomes? And do you think that if we all have about the same amount of wealth, we might still disagree or fight over other things? In a country where there is a steady erosion of individual rights, how many rich seniors are willing to stand up for the freedoms of their grandchildren? Do you think that if puberty blockers are given to children under age 18, it may later affect the mental health of some of them? Why do some people call a government generous, and not we, the taxpayers who fund so many things? Next, would you rather live in a communist, a socialist, or a capitalist country? And why is it that some politicians who got rich in capitalist nations encourage young adults to embrace failed socialist policies? It seems like when some politicians want to mislead people, they tell them what they want to hear. Next, do you think that when the mainstream media is heavily funded by the government, it erodes public trust? It is said that for a leader to be a dictator, the mainstream media must be on his side. Do you know how much taxes the top 1% earners pay in your country? Why do socialist countries tend not to have an immigration problem? Is it because life is hard there? Why do some young people hate capitalism, but yet they want a capitalist to give them a job? No country is perfect, but why is it that some people have a habit of saying negative things about a generous country, where millions of people want to go and live? Next, when people with average incomes become multimillionaires in a very short time, should they be investigated? Do you prefer a government that is tough on crime, or a government that is soft on crime? And doesn't it appear to you at times that some in the media seem to be defending people who broke the law? Should the voting age be lowered to 16? And do you think teenagers are interested in politics, history, and in learning the difference between facts and opinions? Do you know the differences between conservatives and liberals, and the importance of being an informed voter? And also how much the media, your family, and friends influence your voting behavior? Is diversity our strength? Or is unity our strength? Do you think that diversity, equity, and inclusion can lead to lower academic and hiring standards? And should a person's merit or qualifications be prioritized over the color of their skin? Do you think that if the British, for example, had not colonized your country, some other powerful nation might have done so? We sometimes hear about rising sea levels and climate change being called an existential threat, but yet many rich people are buying beachfront homes and attending big events in private jets. Do you think that the new net zero commitments by countries, as well as bad government policies, and the new wave of mass migration over the last 4 years, have greatly contributed to the high cost of living that we see today? Why do some celebrities, politicians, and other rich people who made millions under capitalism like to preach about socialism and even show support for dictators? Should people who move to a new country try to assimilate? Why do some people blindly believe everything they hear or see on TV news, without paying attention to the full story or questioning the accuracy of the news? Why do some of the mainstream media today seem so focused on issues revolving around race, gender, immigration, and victimhood? Why do some people say all lives matter, but yet, you rarely hear them talk about abortion or about the baby in the womb? Next, what do you think about the putting of free tampons in men's washrooms? It is said that slavery has existed in nearly every part of the globe, but why is it that so many of us mostly talk about the transatlantic slave trade and not about the Arab slave trade? Why do some people dislike their own family members who have different political views? And doesn't it seem to you that some people in the media and some politicians use various strategies to keep people in a country divided? Here it is good to ask yourself the question: does your core values and priorities align with the ideology and goals of the political party that you intend to vote for? Should millions of illegal migrants be allowed to come into your country without a thorough background check? Next, how would you answer the question, what is a woman? And how many genders are there? Should biological males who identify as women be allowed to compete in women's sports? And should there be a new open category for trans athletes? Do you think that the media might be destroying the mental health of many people, with negative news headlines that make some people feel worried, sad, or scared? Finally, who do you think is more reliable or trustworthy? Is it someone who is straightforward, or is it someone who uses flowery speech that lacks substance and is hard to understand?